I would do things to her that are illegal in a lot of places.
Like murder her?
Good evening, Internet. I'm here with Phil Peters.
Yeah. I forgot what I was supposed to say.
Did you actually? You just went,
I was going to say, good I stuck between good to see you, and then I was going to say, oh no, I was going to say, yeah, buddy. So I said, good.
Okay, Will Summers.
Excellent
That's
stuff.
an improvement.
G'day.
Duncan McIntyre.
Okay.
And I'm Pete Green. We'd like to start off talking tonight about Star Wars in honour of May the 4th, which was yesterday? No, the day before. Day before yesterday.
May the 4th be with you.
It'll be a
Yeah,
couple
I got that text in the morning and didn't actually realise that it was supposed to be a day. I just got May the 4th, we were like, oh, it's May the 4th, okay. Yeah. I didn't actually realise that was a thing.
Oh, okay. Well,
I guess it is.
on that sterling couple of contributions from you, Phil.
We've got and I forget that one. Let me redeem myself here.
We're all talking on the way over here about the couple of things in Star Wars that kind of bug us a little bit. I was talking about how they have a whole lot of ships that are always in outer space and yet are shaped aerodynamically, which makes no sense. Because if you have a ship that's always in outer space...
into the
No,
atmosphere.
but they don't. Because the really big,
X-wings?
not X-wings, like really big ones.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the Imperial
yeah.
Cruisers and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or like big triangles. You could make them like bricks or like bowl shapes that constantly move in the direction of the empty part of the bowl. Just to be like, fuck you,
They
physics.
just have guns everywhere, and they'd never miss the
Exactly.
Falcon again.
Exactly. In a funny kind of way, like a brick, like a cube, is probably like not a bad shape for a
or a sphere.
Yeah, but
sphere's not bad.
like the
Wait
Death
a
Star.
minute.
It's just, yes, it has to be a sphere, but it also has to have a slight opening. Just at some point.
Well, a sphere with
down
like,
a trench.
with like an indentation in one side.
No wider than a Womp Rat.
Yeah.
That can completely destroy the planet of Alderaan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be blown up by a single errand.
And wings on anything in space annoys me as well.
Mm.
Like I get why X-wings need wings because they come off
do come
planets
out
and
of
stuff.
atmosphere,
Yeah. But when they're in space,
Yeah, what do you need it for?
put them away, fellas.
Yeah, it's just more surface area for the enemy's laser beams
Exactly.
to hit.
Exactly.
There would be
Which somehow goes slower than the speed of light.
Yeah.
Which is how you can see traveling through the
Is that
air.
number 2 of what annoys us?
That
Yes.
was pretty much
that
number
was
two.
number 2. Is
Why?
like clearly just like a regular like metal slug gun
a gun would
is
be better.
more efficient at killing Jedis
Yeah.
who seem to be really, really good at baseball or cricket or whatever sport you want to like.
Well, though, but I imagine they have like Neo powers from the Matrix where they can just stop the bullets
Yeah.
with the Force. Maybe that's the reason.
That could be
Why they can't do that with lasers, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
But they
Darth
kinda
Vader
do
doesn't
that.
he? Because
That's
Han
right. Yeah,
Solo
Han tries to
shoots
shoot him. True.
and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
he
Cloud
really knows
City.
the
And it's like,
Force.
it's like pew pew.
Yeah, it just goes in his hand,
Yeah.
and he's just like, what? Now you see it.
Yeah.
Oh, that tickled a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, think of all the like minor Jedi
Yeah.
who don't even know how to like force push.
Yeah.
Lol, do you even Force push, bro?
Like, how many midichlorians do you have? Oh my god!
Do you even force lift?
Do you even Force lift?
Yeah. All
Like,
those
I
things.
just think-
There was something else that annoyed us about Star Wars on the way over that I can't remember now.
I was
It's
just
something
saying
else.
that like the least evolved, like least advanced, the Sand people have the most sophisticated guns.
It's
that
true.
You don't even know where they shot you from.
They probably
'cause it
stole
doesn't
them.
leave behind a neon trace.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I noticed when I watched that film.
What?
That the Sand people have the best guns.
Yeah, the Sand
Yeah,
People's
totally.
ability to kind of
Yeah.
like conduct guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Seems to be like disproportionate to their level of intelligence and civilization.
I don't know.
One-
You can say a lot with.
So
True.
one
I mean,
word
seals do.
vocabulary.
Well,
Phil does at the start of podcasts sometimes.
That's true.
to relate this to some news that actually happened, we were talking about playing Battlefront 2
On May the 4th.
on May the 4th.
Accidentally, somehow.
So, yeah, coincidentally.
We were drawn to it by some sort of force. Maybe.
Some sort of. But there was a video that came out of pre-release footage of Battlefront 3 that looked really awesome. And I think it's very like disappointing that no one has kind of picked that up, because I reckon if you had maybe not even like Battlefront 3, but not like Battlefront 2, I reckon if you had like Battlefield 3 but with Star Wars, that would be the best thing ever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Battlefront 2 is, several years old now. It's probably more than 5 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was on the Xbox.
Yeah,
so
original. It was OG Xbox.
And Dix,
and it's
Dix
still
wouldn't
an
play
awesome game.
It's true.
Like all the dicks that play Battlefield 3 wouldn't play a Star Wars spin-off.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh, it's silly. I won't be able to see anyone's blood when I teabag them.
Yeah. But you can. You can get a mod for that.
Download the skin.
The first day it came out, yeah.
Yeah. Full splatter Star Wars.
There's also one where everybody just shows up as Prince Leia running around naked.
Prince Leia? Princess Leia. Naked Prince Leia.
Naked Prince Leia. Oh, God.
Yeah. No,
that would be sweet.
That would be fantastic.
The unwritten twist ending.
I always remember...
Luke, it's your sister. Wait, it's your brother!
I always remember playing, I forget if it was Battlefront 1 or 2, but there was this whole level where all you did was massacre Ewoks. And it was something deeply satisfying.
Were you supposed to do that? Or
yeah,
did you just kind of like go off course?
I forget.
I wonder if I can just murder all of these Ewoks.
because I was a Jedi, so it must have been something that you could do. You weren't necessarily meant to.
I think I remember playing that.
Yeah, it was great.
It'd be cool if you could do it in like an attack walker as well.
Yeah, or in real life.
See, you are the only two people that I've ever heard refer to an AT-AT as an AT-AT.
Yeah, what?
Really?
Everyone calls them AT-ATs.
That's an AT-AT.
I've never heard that
so
before.
we're the only three people.
Yeah.
The 3 out of the 4 people.
You're the only one person in this room that calls it an AT-AT. It sounds like a telephone company.
Maybe I've only ever read it before.
Yeah, I guess.
Do they mention it in the films? AT-AT or...
I thought. See, I thought if it was in the films, they would have said AT-AT.
No, I think in the films they always say Imperial Walkers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I only ever read it in like Encyclopedia of Star Wars nerd books that I've had.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Editions 1 through.
The more you know.
StarWars.wikia.com.
Oh, you can get lost on that.
I was reading fan fiction of Star Wars. That must be where I've read it.
And like, there's some shit on those sites that are like, they weren't even mentioned in the movies or like in the original script. That is just clearly like nerds adding them on.
Yeah. Well, this is any like extended quotation fingers extended universe Star Wars.
It's just self-insert fan fiction.
Exactly.
Well, some of it's books that are sort of semi.
Yeah, so like semi-canon. Although since Disney bought Star Wars, they're like, no, actually, all of that stuff doesn't count anymore, and we are rewriting everything. So,
I think Disney's gonna murder it.
Well, they want to do.
Are they going to kill it, or are they going to murder it? Because kill it sounds good, and murder it's bad.
Yeah, no, they're gonna.
I reckon they're going to kill it.
They're gonna murder it.
They're going to smother it with a pillow.
They're gonna kill it in its sleep.
Oh, okay, that's worse.
Yeah, that is worse
That's bad.
than killing it just normally.
Well, they want to. I mean, it's been asleep for quite a while, but they want to release a new movie every year.
Every year, yeah, every summer, every American summer. So we're gonna get one every winter.
And I think it's.
So what's the deal with the Avengers then? Because I thought it was. They have
Avengers,
one summer they release a Star Wars film. The next one it's Avengers. The next one it's Star Wars. So they've got the 2 year production.
Avengers
period.
2 is definitely coming out in either next year or the year after.
Yeah.
Yes, coming out.
Still making a film every year. Like they've got to have several production.
Well, no,
companies
what they'll do.
Yeah.
I think what they'll do is a bit like Call of Duty does. So they have their like main Modern Warfare line, and they have their like Black Ops line. So they have 2 different teams working on them. In
different
2 year
actors,
cycles.
surely.
Well, that's what I think. I think that 1 year they're going to do like Episode 7, and then the next year they're just going to do like Star Wars and some other story.
Yeah. They just give Samuel L. Jackson like a 40-year contract just to be in every
It's going to be
Star Wars ever.
I'm deeply uneasy about this.
Yeah.
Well, J.J. Abrams,
because it was perfect. Like the prequels, whatever. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't. But like the 6. As they are now, I reckon that's a pretty like perfectly formed movie franchise.
Like a lot of people would disagree. A lot of angry internet people would disagree.
I would say that
nerds.
they probably couldn't do worse than the recent 3 that have come out.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's no flaw left under the Phantom Menace.
As far as I'm concerned, the first one was the best one. Like the very first, the episode 4.
7-11.
Yeah.
People keep trying to convince me that Empire Strikes Back. People keep trying to convince me that Empire Strikes Back is the best one, and I don't agree with that.
Although 4 kind of ends on nothing.
Well, I mean, it's a setup.
But for that reason, I think people like The Empire Strikes Back because it kind of ends with a bit more finality.
That's why people don't like the last one, because it seems kind of unnecessary, or...
I don't know. I think people just don't like the last one because it's sort of a bit... I don't know.
Lackluster.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're like, this is the end.
Yeah. Oh, Ewoks. Yeah.
Ewoks.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, true.
Fantastic.
They topple the Empire.
Yeah. And people don't like Ewoks.
People just thunk it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing.
People don't take Ewoks seriously.
I really hate Ewoks.
Hopefully the Ewoks have some like secret agenda in the new films.
I feel...
They're actually like really smart. They're actually secretly controlling
it's a secret
everything.
society of Ewoks just intersecting into the entire...
Or like it picks up, if they do like episode 7, the movie starts right after the Ewoks like massacred all the Jedis, because they just like lulled them into a false sense of security.
And form a new world order.
Yeah.
the new world order of Ewok.
Yeah.
They're in huge ships that just look like a giant Ewok.
No, just the head. They just look like a giant Ewok head going through space.
Yeah.
Although this kind of gives some...
Which would be no better or worse than a giant elongated triangle, Lucas, you dick, if you're listening.
And I mean, it kind of gives some evidence...
Bet you he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bet you he listens to all like podcasts and YouTube videos that mention Star Wars. Bet you he's that kind of guy.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon he doesn't listen to anything that isn't the sound of his own voice.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I could agree with that too.
Didn't he like write the like episode 1, 2, and 3 just on his own?
Yeah.
And didn't
Well,
use any script doctors
Yeah,
at all,
exactly.
and that's why they sucked?
So maybe that's
Yeah, because like the first 3, as in the original trilogy,
Yeah.
they had professional script doctors in to change things.
He,
Like,
he certainly does
To make them, good movies.
Yeah, and it's like Harrison Ford, his line like whatever, I love you, I know, and it's supposed to be I love you too.
Yeah.
And that was
And then Harrison Ford was just like, hey George, let me try something. I'm just gonna try something.
Yeah.
And then Hayden Christensen's not good enough to come up with
Han shooting first.
Yeah.
And then George Lucas being like, oh no, now I've got kids and I don't want them to see like a sort of morally ambiguous character.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck are you to say like, oh, I've got to change? Like, you don't see Quentin Tarantino if he ever got kids. I can't imagine he'd like go back.
How would he get kids in this case? I can't imagine him procreating. So
no, but like like there's loads of directors that have made really gory movies and then have like had kids, and maybe like they don't make gory movies after that, but you don't see them going back to their movies that they've already made and being like just sort of whitewashing everything.
I think it was. I mean, I think it was more that kind of like they kind of pushed into childhood markets with like Clone Wars and stuff. So it made sense for them to make a morally righteous character.
It's become a trend.
The entire thing,
and it's become a trend with directors as well. Because didn't Spielberg directed E.T., didn't he?
Yeah,
because they changed the FBI agents from running around with guns to running around with walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
In the most recent one.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's less
because guns are okay.
And you don't want to create the idea that they might be able to shoot E.T. because that's a bit scary for the kiddies.
Okay, E.T. makes me cry every single time.
You know what made me cry every time? Lassie.
I've never seen Lassie.
And even like 4th time, because the dog goes over a waterfall. Right?
Spoilers alert.
And it looks,
Spoiler alert, you haven't seen Lassie.
And it looks like she's dead. Right?
Yeah.
But I knew.
Was she in a wine cask?
No, she wasn't in a barrel.
A wine barrel.
No. I just was on a ride.
She's in a goon bag going over the waterfall.
Her owners threw her in the river. Lassie's the untold story.
These sick kids just stick their dog in a barrel. Yeah, so she goes over a waterfall, and you know she's going to be okay, because I watched it like 3 or 4 times before this. It got me every time.
Yeah.
Toy Story 3 makes me cry as well.
Really?
That gets,
but not in the bit where they're going towards the fire.
Which bit?
Like right at the ending.
Right at the end,
when
where Andy's giving all his toys over.
Yeah,
I'm just
sad.
Yeah. My ears were moist.
Try that.
My ears were moist. My ears were moist, and I cried too.
Yeah, that was just a medical issue I had on the day. But yeah, my eyes.
It just sounds so good. Yeah, I think that's a pretty thorough wrap. We wanted also to talk about this issue with this kid in Ohio, who's Iowa. Sorry, Iowa. Idaho. Maybe
Idaho will.
How come those 3 states all sound the same? It's ridiculous.
No,
which 3?
Idaho, Iowa, and Ohio.
What annoys me, right?
I forgot the 3rd one while I was saying that because they sound the same.
What annoys me though is that Kansas, right, is a place.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas is Arkansas.
Yeah. Why is it Arkansas?
When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's Kansas and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duncan, could you like to explain that?
actually, for a really long time, like in primary school when we were learning all the states, I thought Arkansas and Arkansas were two different states. I thought there was Kansas, Arkansas, and Arkansas.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Arkansas was spelt like differently to Arkansas.
And you just
In
never
your
saw it
eyes.
on the map or something.
Yeah.
Is your mind just blown, Pete?
You look so confused.
You know,
Like a meerkat.
So wait,
Let me write it down for you.
So wait, there's only two states, right?
Kansas and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, no, that's fine then.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it probably took me until last year to realise. Because there's a Bruce Springsteen song called Mary Queen of Arkansas. And so I've seen it on my phone.
Mary Queen of Arkansas.
Mary Queen of Arkansas. And I'm like,
when,
why
when,
is he singing
I'm
Arkansas?
sorry, but when he gets to the chorus and
Yeah.
he says Arkansas, did it not kind of go,
well,
maybe it's not
I didn't
said-
really listen to it that much. It's not one of my favourites.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's this kid in Iowa.
In Arkansas?
Wait, Iowa or Ohio?
Wait, no, we decided on Iowa.
Did we? Okay.
Okay.
So it's this sort of terrible story where his mum took away his copy of Call of Duty.
No.
And so he tried to rape her and then killed her with a 22.
He didn't. He
Yeah, just
succeeded
feel bad now, Will.
I do.
He succeeded in the second part.
Yes,
By the way.
he attempted to rape her, and then when he couldn't, he killed her with a 22 rifle that she'd given him for his 12th birthday.
He was 13 at the time.
Yes.
I think this happened last year.
Yeah, because he's now 14.
Yeah.
crazy.
And a lot of people are saying, you
No,
know,
it's because of the game.
look at this,
Yeah.
it's a game. But it turns out that he has a severe mental disorder which causes occasional fits of uncontrollable rage. And
That could do it.
And his mother had also, like, I'm not blaming her, but he had ready access to a gun, which was his at
It was his.
13.
Yeah, it was his weapon. It wasn't just like his dad was lying around the house. It was his.
Yeah. He had a rifle at 12
And-
with sort of like these serious health problems, which
And also
would
had
probably be
had-
prevented by some kind of background check.
but also had a MA15 video game at 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
that's just...
And like I hate to be like,
actually, in America, it's rated M, and you can't
M
buy
for
it unless
mature.
you're 18.
There you
yeah,
go.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and like I was saying this to Phil the other day, but it sounds a bit like, you know, hearing the news about Whitney Houston dying and just being like, yeah, you know what, singing, it'll get you. You know, gets all of them,
Yeah.
even the best. You know, it's a completely unrelated fact.
Yeah.
Because
And
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lot of the
well, it's
time-
just the fear mongering, people saying
yeah,
whatever,
and-
it's because of this.
And a
but
lot of the
they're
time,
kind of winning the argument to a certain extent.
well,
aren't they?
video
Well,
games
to the vocal
and-
minority, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, and video games and kind of like gun rights get played off against each other a lot of the time. I mean,
It
ever
has
since
nothing to do with each other.
well,
Yeah,
ever
but
since
like the NRA, one of the NRA's favourite lines is, you know, oh, you don't want to control guns, you want to control these goddamn violent video games.
yeah, and this
Yeah.
first like popped its head up how long ago was the Columbine shooting?
90s, wasn't it?
So
Early 90s?
nearly 20 years
say
ago.
the name of the shooting again.
90s.
Columbine.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I
I
thought you
don't
said
know.
Columbine.
Oh, I just
He may
started.
have.
Anyway, yeah, because he was playing Doom, and that was the reason that he shot everyone. Apparently,
That's so
Frankly,
silly,
if you'd played Doom enough, you wouldn't be able to shoot anyone. So
I just like the idea that he's holding the gun
Yeah.
like right in the middle of his vision and just bobbing up and down, and he doesn't know how to reload. He's going around picking up vests and putting them
but
on.
he's nervous about picking up a shotgun because he thinks like 12 other enemies are going to spawn in the next room as soon as he does it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a bit more.
yeah.
Do we just make light of it?
I think we did. I was
terrible
going to
incident
say
in
he was
history?
worried about picking up the shotgun, so it's like 6 students wouldn't come out of the closets around it.
But that would have been
that would
taken
have been
too
a
far.
really poor
That
taste.
would've
Yeah.
been a
So I'm
terrible
glad you
taste.
didn't say
Yeah,
that.
so am I.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah, this is probably going to get cut out of the final version, I think. Will, you wanted to talk about semen.
Sperm, to be precise.
Sperm.
Yeah.
So you're not so concerned with semen?
No, not so much.
Okay.
You know?
Because
I've been spending the past 3 days like cramming. Studying the intricate.
Cramming, studying.
There's been a lot of cramming. No.
A lot of semen cramming, is that Will?
Yes, Phil. Yeah, because I've got a law assignment on whether sperm is capable of being property.
Interesting.
And so that's all that I've got on my mind.
Isn't like if you like lost a finger,
Yeah.
is that considered property?
That's a very good question. It depends when you lose it and what's happened to the finger. Like, if it's come off and then you've done something to preserve it so that you can then reattach it, it's arguable that there's been sufficient amount of like work and medical skill applied to it that it becomes capable of being property, so that you can.
But if it's of no further use to you, like if it's
no
fallen off and
use
it's
to
dead
you,
and you haven't like,
What if someone-
and like just say a hospital takes it and uses it for medical research or something,
yeah,
then that you've probably abandoned your property if it's of no use to you.
What if someone...
is there sorry Phil, is there the same kind of rule about, because if you find money in the street, you're meant to like give it to the cops and
If
they
you
hang on
find
to
like
it for a
a
week.
severed hand in the street,
Or someone's semen.
Yeah,
are you
it's
meant to give it to the police and they hang onto it?
Yeah, there's a few cases where like police have found jars of semen in the street, and then people want to claim it, obviously. Cause
seems like every second day I find a jar of semen in the street.
I mean, the Supreme Court is really clogged with these cases about claiming semen rights, to be honest.
It's
a
really
big
a
issue.
sticky situation.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but yeah.
I have a question.
So what was your
semen related, sperm related?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna give you a little situation. Like,
Okay.
Completely hypothetical.
you're having sexual intercourse with
Okay.
your significant other.
Yeah.
And you're doing the responsible thing of wearing a jimmy.
Is this a person called Jimmy or?
Is your significant other named Jimmy?
A prophylactic of the latex variety.
Of course.
And you deposit your semen or sperm into the
it's both.
prophylactic, and then you discard of the prophylactic.
Yeah.
And then someone comes along and takes the prophylactic and inseminates themselves with it. Like, are you required to pay,
like alimony?
Yeah, well...
Oh, is that
for,
that's for divorce? Is
like
it?
child support.
Child support.
Yeah,
Is
law
that-
student right at you.
Is that your legal child?
Well, like I
asked because a friend
I've
of
never
mine-
heard of any cases of that, but it's a really interesting issue.
That's really like overly obsessed girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
No,
sure.
I saw it.
I'm sure it would
there's
have
a
happened.
movie.
Yeah, because
about
it
it.
stays like you can still use this
For
for
like
a long time.
a couple of hours.
Yeah.
It's not all that long, but it's a few
but
hours.
long enough that you
Long
can
enough.
grab it and like put it in a turkey baster and then
Just go to town.
Yeah,
go to town.
that's what
and
turkey basters are
conceive.
for.
Yeah, that's what they're originally meant for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting issue. Like, a court would probably say that, like, just it would be, it wouldn't be right to force the biological father to actually have to pay any support for that. So you'd biologically, of course, be the father, but I don't think any court would say that you'd have to pay child support. to this mother.
Challenge accepted.
And there's probably some sort of statutory provision saying that what that woman had done was probably illegal, and that
You'd think so.
Well, it depends
I don't
whether it was actually property. And it could be theft, or
it's true. Like they've said that
he had made an effort to preserve it.
yeah, well, it's sort of got to be a professional, skillful application of some sort of technique to preserve it. So you'd think like a doctor, or putting it cryogenically frozen, or like in liquid nitrogen. But it is an
duly
interesting
noted.
issue.
There you go.
Keep that in
So
mind.
The
make
more-
sure
the more you know.
Yeah, make sure you throw them away very, very carefully.
Speaking of which,
you
student
could just-
politics
you could
this week.
It's
There's
probably good I didn't say what I was going to say.
the first SGM in a couple of decades of Monash's history was held at the Clayton campus
What's
last
that?
week. A student general meeting.
I think the last time they took the photo in black and white.
Yes, that is
Wow.
correct. And they had
Yeah.
they were trying to recreate sort of the
Yeah.
huge turnout, so sort of the mid 60s and 70s.
6 people turned up.
Well, no, actually, they managed to get 330.
So which
Which
means
is-
that you have to.
I have to consume my hat. Yes, that is true, because I
That's what you wrote?
I wrote in a post last week on thebucketjournal.com that I would
Favorite website.
consume my headwear if they manage to achieve quorum. So I'm looking into ways to make that
I'm hoping you don't have a 44. What do they call those massive hats? 44 gallon.
a 44 gallon.
Texas.
44 gallon.
It's
hat.
actually called a Texas 10 gallon.
Yeah,
There you go. A 10 gallon hat. Yeah.
like a 44 gallon hat.
44 gallon.
That's a big
It's like
ass.
it's a 10 gallon hat, except like 4.5 times as big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just have like a little sun visor, like for a midget.
Well,
No, I want to see him eat one of those like helicopter like rotating with the things on the top.
What I was going to try and do is make a hat out of like pancakes or cookies or something.
And then we can live video blog that.
Yeah.
I mean, podcast it.
Yeah. By next week, I will have consumed some kind of edible headwear. I promise this to you.
You know, I'm a bit sorry, Pete, because I was in attendance and voted in the SGM.
Oh, that's fine. No,
that's good. Someone was there. We can actually talk about some kind of authority.
I'm glad they got quorum because it's certainly less less sad than not getting quorum. I was working, which is my excuse.
I didn't even hear about this.
Gainful employment.
Was there even a student email? Like I read all those emails.
I'm not sure if there was an email from the MSA, but there was a couple of things on Facebook. It was sort of poorly publicised to a certain extent. But they managed to pass two resolutions.
As far as I
understand it. Well, no, they passed one resolution asking for the MSA to pursue getting student representatives back on the university
Fair enough.
board.
Fair enough.
Good stuff. Good on.
And they passed that with I believe it's a 60% majority, which means that it is binding on the MSA to do that.
Oh, that's good.
Because you can.
I mean, and that's what the MSA, the student. What is it? Monash Student Association
would be wanting to do anyway.
Exactly, that's what they're for. That's what they're there for.
But that gives them a sort of extra mandate to go ahead with that. They also tried to pass a resolution, well, they did pass a resolution opposing the funding cuts, but they didn't actually get a binding majority on that. So it's not binding on the MSA to do anything about that resolution.
How are these people voting against funding cuts?
Oh, I don't know.
They're students at the university.
My theory is they were there for the first of
they're the only people who
more than 40% of people voted against the one opposing funding cuts. So I guess it is a good question. Who are these people?
Were they voting against it, or were they just not voting for it? Because they were standing. To be fair, they were standing on a grassy hill. So I can imagine some of them were just kind of standing around seeing.
It is entirely possible that, although I don't know, Dunk, you were there. How did they count for quorum? Did they ask if people were actually there to vote and not just to observe and or jeer, or?
That's actually an interesting question.
Did they just count everyone that was there, like everyone that was standing on the Menzies lawn at that particular time?
They attempted to count the votes. They went about doing so in a very unorganized manner.
Yeah.
I think they tried like 4 different methods
of
counting people.
When I walked past, they were just everybody put your hand up and then sit down when we count you.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because particularly when you have such, like, I think passing a resolution takes 50%. I might be wrong on this, and then I believe that passing a binding resolution takes 60%. So given you're dealing with like a relatively sort of fine margin there between something which is sort of politically significant and something which is politically sort of symbolic, it's kind of
important to have a good system.
It's problematic that they don't have a really sort of finely tuned system for
Would you be able
people.
to use
some sort of
Facebook?
electronic technology?
Would you be able to use Facebook as a...
I doubt it, because it'd be difficult to restrict it to the people who had actually showed up. You know what I mean? Like if you just made...
so they had to... So you couldn't just like put a thing up on Facebook?
No, you have to be
student
at
card?
the meeting.
You come up with a student card and register a vote.
Yeah, but I think like actually having like people file through a thing.
They had 330 people. Like that's not...
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there are different ways of doing this.
What I really think they should do is like when you go, you get sort of like a handout, just like a little card. That
like
just
a ballot.
says like motion 1, motion 2, motion 3, whatever. Just like a colored coded card even. And then they walk around with like a yes and a no box.
You know what though? That sounds far too organized for the MSA.
What about just like a red card and a green card?
I mean,
so like,
what about
vote yes, green card.
What about like
no,
Shy
card.
Guy Says from Mario Party? And it's like you lift the A flag if you're in favour of it, and you lift the B flag if you're not in favour of it.
Or what Clefairy
Says.
Yeah, Clefairy Says in Pokemon Stadium where you have to copy a particular.
I think I've solved it. Shirts v skins.
There you go.
You just go shirts yes, skins no. It's easy.
What, wrestling?
No,
jelly wrestling.
Wrestling.
And we're back to jelly wrestling.
No, just standing there.
Oh, and counting.
Yeah.
I assume some sort of sporting competition.
No, although weather might affect voting then, because I imagine I understand it was quite cold when they had the SGM, so shirts.
It
might
did
be
rain
an advantage.
actually. It did rain when they tried to do it the first time.
Well, it sort of stopped raining for...
Yeah,
it had been raining all day.
I heard the clouds sort of parted for the SGM.
When the president stood up.
Yeah. No, so it's unfortunate that it managed to get a binding resolution on the thing that the meeting was sort of designed to raise awareness of. They are now planning it's part of a nationwide, apparently, student strike on the 14th of this month, which seems to me 14th. To be... it's in week 10, and they're asking everyone to walk out of their classes on that day and attend a rally at State Parliament House. But I don't...
Nothing says we value our education like leaving our education.
And it seems to me like attending a protest is one thing, but using the language of a student strike seems to be slightly oxymoronic, because what economic leverage do we have over the university? I mean, everyone's paid.
They'll probably save money, but
it's basically it's just a show of force. I mean,
but to what end? I mean, it's all the lecturers are hardly going to complain if we all walk off the job for a day.
Well, I guess it's probably just if they get enough, then the media will pay attention.
Well, I think the lecturers still are obligated to continue giving their lecture.
Yeah,
because it's recorded.
That's true.
Which would be them speaking to an empty room, and
so I mean,
hilarious.
I love the idea of like a question-heavy lecturer doing voices in the crowd. What do you think about question B, little Jimmy? Oh, well, I think it's really interesting.
I don't know. I'm not entirely on board with that. But if it raises awareness for the funding cuts and whatever, then that's good. I think the sort of odd.
I mean,
thing
I
about,
want them to succeed. I'm just cynical and think they won't.
Yeah, I think the odd thing about this whole debate is there's a lot of sort of animosity between a lot of suspicion between different groups in the student body about different people trying to undermine the effort, and I don't think there's any student that is for these funding cuts. I mean, no,
40% of them apparently.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I think that's more. I think that's more that. Well, it's the cuts are going. I mean, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. But the cuts are going here. That like we're cutting a bit of money from you guys so we can push it to another area, which is kind of when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We said it was kind of flawed that just paying Peter to
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
It also seems odd to aim this at the university, because surely, like, as much as students are opposed to funding cuts, I mean, for us, it might eventually lead to different units being slashed, or
maybe professors, their jobs.
Yeah, they're losing their jobs. Yeah. It seems absurd to assume, which seems to be the assumption made by some of these protests, that the university is somehow complicit Marxists. In these funding cuts.
There is a bit of that kind of like lefty,
like storming the chancellor's office at Monash last week,
like they're rolling up in a carpet and throwing him off a bridge.
Rolling up in a carpet and throwing him off a bridge.
But yeah, that seems. I mean, if you just take a step back and actually think about what you're sort of suggesting there, it's completely bizarre.
Yeah,
that the university
because it's not like it was the chancellor's
idea.
Wishes. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, the people who are really active in student politics are all nuts anyway. So
yeah, I think
there's no sort of normal person doing that.
I think
not one. No,
not to generalize, but every one of them.
But the really serious ones, they're all nuts.
I think it is sort of true that like attending a university politically tends to drive you towards the centre.
So you become inactive.
Unless you're a political representative.
Well, no, but if you're a conservative young man or woman, sort of the liberal bent, then you tend to run into the young liberals and get turned off by that sort of whole hard line, stop the boats rubbish. And by the same token, if you're a progressive-minded young thing, you tend to run into the socialist alternative and think, I want to be associated with precisely none of that. And you get pushed. You get pushed yourself. So I think I hate to steal a phrase from Richard Nixon, but I think the presence of the silent majority at university is a real. It's a hugely understated part of the political process. Because I mean, they got quorum at this meeting, which is 300 people. Quorum for a Monash SGM is 1% of the student population, and if they only manage to just pass one resolution, that means that exactly half of 1% of the entire student population rocked up to vote for these measures.
I would be surprised if. Even
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I would be surprised if 5% knew what the hell was going on, though. They knew that this was even an issue.
Yeah, and there's just talking to people about the spending cuts. There's a lot of people who say I'm going to be out here. I'm going to be out of here in a year. What do I care? And that applies to pretty much all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time...
I mean, I'm only going to be there for 6 years, so it doesn't really affect me.
Oh, exactly. I'm in the supposed third year of an arts degree, so I should only be there for maybe
4 or 5,
maybe a decade at this point. But it's likely that if some of these cuts start rolling through, we will not be the ones most affected by them. But I don't think that means that you should be sort of less interested about what's going on with your university or what's going on with education generally in the country in which you live.
And there was just to talk about politics more generally. There was in the Age today, kind of like a Melbourne University poll figures about how people were generally engaged in politics this close to the election, and the overwhelming response was that people are sick of it, and it's too. He said,
negative.
he said, negative kind of connotations, and people are just tired of it. And I think that's a lot to do with that that is the silent majority. Silent majority.
Oh,
just kind of.
I don't believe that's the silent majority, because I think, I don't know. I think to a certain extent we as a population have to take responsibility for the quality of our political discourse,
which would be great if we could do that. But
we can absolutely we can.
I don't think any one person has any particular power. If you
of course not. But as groups we do. I mean, if you believe that political discourse is being dragged down by certain elements in the media, whether you think that it's the Age and the Australian and the Fin Review's relentless left-wing bias, or whether you think it's the fact that the Murdoch print goes to print every day without a shred of fact anywhere in their organisation. The only reason that those institutions exist is because there is public demand for them.
Right, but this is my point. What is the front page story more often than not?
Well, what do you mean?
There's political unrest, and this, the federal leadership has been
but if
that's what sells papers.
But if the public demands a higher grade of political debate in the nation's media, then it will be delivered, because that's how the market system works.
But most of the public's just this unwashed mass of
not to generalise or anything.
No, I'm very against generalisation, but I mean,
as we stated before,
isn't the highest selling paper in Australia like the Herald Sun?
It's
a state paper, so I doubt it.
I'm not.
Is it the Australian? Because that's the
in circulation.
Yeah.
I mean, in Melbourne, it's the Herald Sun,
and you get an increase in pictures of girls with their bikinis on in the paper, and it only increases sales, and they talk more about politics, and it decreases sales. I mean,
they talk, and I mean, giving away stuff.
But that kind of goes back to what I'm saying. That we as a public complain about the poor quality of political debate, but then encourage our media outlets to...
Yeah, it's not us, though.
Well, no, exactly.
No, it is.
I'm not the public.
It's the silent majority.
No, well...
It's the silent majority that the vocal minority say we need to improve the level of discourse, and the silent majority say, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and they're all,
the unwashed masses.
Well, I mean...
uneducated.
Well, I think, but I think we as a society needs to take more responsibility for the quality of our political debate.
I'm glad you speak on the behalf of the entire
No, I'm not trying to speak on behalf of the whole society. I'm just saying that we have cards to play.
Nobody disagrees with you though. Nobody disagrees with you though. It's just the level of realism that can kind of give to a statement like that. It's just not going to happen.
All right.
Just like marching on Parliament is not going to tell anyone. Like, everybody knows that university students are opposed to cuts to university.
It's true.
Marching on Parliament isn't going to tell anyone that.
All right. I think that's all we have time for this week. Tune in next week where we eat a horse.
Full? Just the whole horse? Or
yeah.
Alive.
We're going to eat a whole live horse next week.
Including its hooves.
And semen. Possibly sperm as well.
Yeah, so...
I think that's it. That's it. That's done.
Sounds like a dinner. What did Joe just press delete file?
Alright.
That was good.
Joe just did purge hard drive.